O'Neill, 2 L's. I serve the SGC under a General Hammond.
We're explorers. You see, we're from another planet.
The unstable vortex of a forming wormhole. Kawoosh.
Indeed.
Hi interwebs, welcome back to the Kawoosh podcast. And we're back here for episode 2. I am Arne and this is...
Evie, hi.
And today we're talking about the second episode of SG-1, The Enemy Within. So this is a direct follow-up of the cliffhanger of the last one. Mm-hmm. And it opens up with some funny banter in the control room, where they are discussing which planet they want to visit. So they have all the codes for the planets, the P1X305, and Jack wants, no, I don't particularly feel like PX123, I don't know.
I wrote down, I love the plastic board for pointing, because Hammond is constantly like, we are here, and this galaxy is over there. Like, no, it's not, but, you know, it gives you something visual to walk around with the camera.
Yeah, and now, while they are discussing this, they get attacked by the Goa'uld, but the iris is up, so you only hear the banging of the soldiers arriving, and apparently this happens quite a lot. Yeah, and Jack remarks that it's like bugs on a window, which I noted that's a bit morbid, but okay. And Kowalski has neck pain, but says it's only a headache.
Which does make me wonder, like, they're going off planet. Isn't there like a standard procedure of this is what we're going to check when you come back? Like,
I believe that comes in later. That becomes kind of a thing, but
like
doesn't get in...
Yeah, at that point they're not even checking for pathogens or anything like that.
No, they don't let it get in the way of storytelling.
Yeah.
But I do believe there are a few episodes where they bring something back from a mission, so it does become a plot point.
Well, they did bring something back from a mission.
Exactly.
That's the whole problem.
So, at that point at the end of the scene, the whole thing starts up again with a new gate activation, and cycle just keeps going. And then we get the first opening credits, and I thought it was gonna be the one with the Ra statue, but it's not. It's the clip show opening. But I do believe the other one comes back at one point in one of the following seasons.
I remember seeing it and I thinking, oh, he was wrong.
I was wrong. I admit I was wrong. Doesn't happen often, but
that is wrong. I mean, it's infuriating.
It also features some scenes that we haven't seen yet from later on in the season, and it ends with the big explosion from the last one. They're very proud of the very, very big explosion they did. And then the episode starts proper. O'Neill comes in to talk to Hammond, and Teal'c is being denied being a member of the team, because he does carry the larva of their enemy in his body, and he is an alien. Hammond is very strict still in this one, and they're even discussing experimenting on him.
I wrote down, I thought it was very telling that you have this shot of Jack and then you have this shot of Hammond, and Hammond has 3 American flags in his shot. I counted. They're like dotted throughout the frame. Like he's very much personifying, like it's very American, it's very
militaristic. It's
yes.
Yeah. That will continue to happen. I think it even continues on in Atlantis, and the first time they step a little bit away from that is with Universe.
Yeah, but I thought it was very nice to see, well, not nice, but Hammond at that point in the episode is very much reacting exactly how you would think the United States military to react.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, somebody took the pain and effort to position these flags very meticulously in the shot.
Hammond also notes that Teal'c already turned sides once, and he might do it again. And that's something you noted in the previous episode. So, yeah, you were right on that one.
I'm going to keep score.
Yeah, keep score of that.
I'm not going to.
O'Neill then goes to visit Teal'c, who is meditating. So that's the very first time for the Kelno Ream, although I don't think they name it here.
No, they didn't name it.
Teal'c wants to know what happened to the civilians they rescued, which is a very good point. And apparently they got away before all the attacks started coming through. Teal'c very directly asks if he's a prisoner, which Jack very directly answers yes. But to his surprise, Teal'c understands, and then Jack gets defensive, tells him it's about trust and that they're scared of the other, being Teal'c, of course. I wrote down that Teal'c still very much calls him O'Neill, although he keeps doing that for a while. But here, I don't know, it felt a little bit standoffish.
I mean, I think it's more like he sees Jack as a leader, and he's trying to be respectful.
Yeah, but they don't have the bond yet that they will
Well,
have
no,
later on, so
obviously. I
he
mean,
keeps calling him O'Neill throughout the season, but the series. But here it felt different. That's why I wrote it down. But he does ask why Jack trusts him, and Jack promises that he'll show Teal'c the world when he gets free.
that's another promise made, so I'm gonna add that to the list of promises made. I don't ever think we see O'Neill taking Teal'c to Disneyland. I don't think that happens.
No, they don't have the
And now I
budget for
kind of
that.
picture him
With the mouse ears.
the mouse ears.
I'm sure there's fan fiction of that.
Yeah, probably, or fan art, like.
And then we cut to the med bay where we're with Kowalski, still no Terrell Rothery. So I'm starting to think that she maybe doesn't show up this season.
Just look it up whenever
Yeah.
when she shows up, or you're gonna like squint at every episode, going like,
Yeah,
nope.
but then again, like the next minute, the doctor gets killed. So yeah, maybe that's
Maybe there's a job opening
There's-
now.
yeah, there is. So the doctor notices something wrong in his neck and starts moving, which was pretty well done actually. And then his eyes start to glow and he strangles the doctor. Then we go to a meeting.
I wrote down Daniel and his laser pointer. I forgot he has that thing. I mean, the board is right there. You can just point at it. But no, he has this laser pointer and he holds it like this. And then he goes like this. Like, Daniel, just point at the board.
Michael Shanks clearly just wanted to do something with his hands.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wrote down that they compared the DHD to a phone, which I thought was a bit funny. Like, okay, it has keys to dial, but
Yeah, but that was back in the day when phones were actually still phones. Like, you can play games on them.
yeah.
So.
So the youth right now, the kids nowadays, they would go like, well, it doesn't have a touch screen, so how can it be a phone?
Yeah, it doesn't have the internet. There's no cats on this thing.
But the meeting is interrupted by Kowalski wandering into the gate room. And they all storm in, but he doesn't remember how he got there. So they bring him back to the med bay. And another doctor comes in, saying Dr. Minziki was supposed to be there. And they're going to take him for an MRI. And then we meet a new military officer, Colonel Kennedy. And he comes in to interrogate Teal'c, who pledges his life and honor to this world. Yeah.
I wrote down that's a very weird music choice because that entire scene has a very weird music vibe under it.
I don't remember specifically what
It just
what
kept
it was.
throwing me off the scene for some reason.
Yeah. So they start asking Teal'c questions about the power source of the weapons, the physics of the gate, but Teal'c doesn't know, he's not a scientist. And then Jack comes in asking permission to barge in, which is so Jack.
Yeah.
We get a breakdown of the danger the enemy poses, like that they have many worlds, they are growing in numbers, but there are also worlds without a Goa'uld presence. And Teal'c also says a journey to Earth by ship would take months, which is a bit foreshadowing.
I do like that Teal'c doesn't know everything, which is much more normal than somebody
He's just a soldier.
He's just a soldier. They don't know everything.
Which also, we're gonna find this out later, but they didn't build the gates. They're literal parasites on everything. They parasite people, but they also parasite on technology.
I don't think that's a verb.
No, it isn't. But I'm using it anyway.
You
They
keep
leech. I don't know.
mooch. I don't know.
But yeah, we're gonna find out in later seasons that there was an ancient race, and although we might even find something out this season already with some of the other races we're gonna meet. But anyway, so the Goa'uld, there are worlds without them, and so the Tauri are not the only people that can stand up to them. This is also the first mention of the Tauri, the first hosts and the first to become servants taken away from that world, and the Colonel tells Teal'c that this planet is actually Earth, and it was Ra who came here. Teal'c doesn't believe it immediately, and he says that Earth is the only planet evolved enough to stand against the Goa'uld, and the only hope.
Which
very
is
American.
It's very American.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the American
Yeah.
exceptionalism
Yeah.
coming through a little bit, and we will find out that it is not true. But okay. But
Oh,
at
that's
this
good.
point in the series, it seems like they're the only ones. And yeah, Carter and Jackson have a good talk about how they're doing. Daniel is still pining for his wife.
I mean, it is only episode 2,
Yeah,
3.
true.
Like, it's
Yeah.
normal that he's still pining for his wife, and also
Carter-
that he's looking for
Yeah,
clues and things. And
it is an episode where they don't have a lot to do, and it's
no, but in
mainly...
the fragments that you do see them, they're working on their relationship, and that's a nice touch.
Yeah,
That they're finding a way.
there's some character building there.
Yeah.
So Carter says that he can't stay awake forever, and Daniel then goes into a bunk and finds the dead doctor there. Then meanwhile, we go back to the MRI scan of Kowalski with the Goa'uld larva around the spine, and the doctor remains very calm, but takes him off active duty. Kowalski's eyes glow and he walks up to the gate control room. Carter tries to stop him, but he throws her around a bit and says, "Help me," to her, and then takes her hostage. Jack stops everyone from shooting at the two, and they get into the elevator where Carter tries to talk to Kowalski and pushes the emergency stop button, but Kowalski knocks her out. And then when the doors open, he lost his memory again. So that's the point where they strap him to a table and explain to Kowalski that he has a juvenile Goa'uld inside of him, and that's why he hasn't been taken over completely yet. And they want to take it out of him. Hammond wants it out, but the doctor isn't sure about the damage that will do. And everybody is very understanding that it's not Kowalski's fault.
I wrote down that I really like seeing Kowalski. He was actually scared. He's
Yeah.
not being like this strong, buff soldier, like, yeah, just cut it out of me, I can take it. No, he cries. And he actually is scared about what's going on. And Jack isn't all like, oh, man up and you're gonna be fine. No, he's like,
Yeah, for an actor that's not gonna return after this one, he really gave it his all. This is this is an episode where he really shines, and like you say, he plays it both really well. He plays the Kowalski really well, being scared but also trying to be tough, and then he plays the Goa'uld. Yeah,
but they were actual tears. I mean, watching these shows from before, like, you didn't see a lot of men cry. It didn't really happen all that often. So, and it's a scary thing. I mean, I would cry.
for sure.
Yeah.
Hammond then goes on to confront Kennedy about Teal'c. They don't want to tell what's going on. Jack, of course, immediately spills the beans. They want to check if Teal'c still has his larva. And Teal'c warns that the larva will be able to kill the host before it's removed.
I do like that Jack just sometimes pushes the plot forward by blurting things out. He's like, we don't have time for this. Just say what we want to say.
Exactly. There's actually why all the secrecy. Just
Yeah.
say what you're there to do. So I don't know. It's kind of a forced tension bit that immediately gets broken by Jack being Jack. Back in the med bay, Kowalski is in pain and he wants it out. And Teal'c says he wants to talk to the Goa'uld to offer it life. So they want to negotiate with it. And then the Goa'uld does take over and tells Hammond he wants to go through the gate and he won't talk to the traitor, which is Teal'c. That's gonna come up a lot.
What, traitor?
That Teal'c is the traitor in their eyes, yeah.
Yes, how dare he fight for his freedom? Like,
Exactly.
how... We gave you everything, man!
It's also notable that when the Goa'uld takes over, he gets a lot stronger and they have to hold him down.
Yeah, he just tears through those straps.
And they almost fire on him, but he calms down just in time. Then there's a bit around the big meeting table with Colonel Kennedy, and he says he wants to keep the parasite in Kowalski.
I wrote down, we have a pro-lifer in the room, and I hate it. Like, look, the host said no, so you take it out. End of discussion.
He's a bit of a typical military guy who wants the weapon, even though it's gonna cost lives. He's a bit of a stock character.
Well, I do think we need him at that point, because that gives Hammond's pushback to
Yeah.
be like, no, we're not doing this.
It does give Hammond some room to grow, yeah. Kennedy wants to keep the larva for the knowledge because they have a genetic memory, or at least that's what we learn here. Jack is very flippant and wants it destroyed. And then Daniel isn't sure the Goa'uld will cooperate, as they do pose as gods. So he's saying, like, you can keep him, but who's to say they're gonna work with you? And then Hammond isn't having it, and he's becoming very protective of the man underneath him, reminding the colonel that he has a red phone and he can call the president at any time.
Maybe I should start a tally of how many times Hammond uses the red phone threat, because he does it a lot.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I know the president, so there. Like, do they golf together or something? Because they seem very buddy-buddy.
It does make you wonder if there are more places where there is a red phone and you have an immediate line.
I wonder if the president has, like, little labels on his red phone, so he knows, like, oh, this is Hammond, and this is that one.
Yeah,
And
this line is the SGC.
yeah.
In the medbay, they are trying some sedatives on Teal'c's larva to see what would work. And again, very good puppet work. And also, this is where I noted that the actor playing Kowalski is doing a great job. And the chemistry with Richard Dean Anderson is on point. You really believe these guys have a history. And then they have a really great moment, tender moment, which of course Jack needs to break with a joke.
I mean, that's what makes it so perfect, though, because
Yeah,
it's just...
it really works.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the day of the operation. I wrote down that this is a set we're gonna see a lot. It's the big set with the windows that look into the lower level. Kowalski wants Hammond. He tells Hammond that he wants to wake up as himself or not at all, and Hammond gives him his word, and the operation starts. We get some. I wrote down that's a big syringe.
And they don't even measure or anything. He's just like, oh, this is fine. This is close enough. Like, dudes.
Yeah,
Like-
just push it in.
It's just anywhere here, you know.
Somewhere in the neck's fine. It's not like there's nerves there or anything.
I also like that they start the clock and then they do this little thing where you see that a lot of time has passed and they're like, I'm making the first incision. Like, what have you been doing for this hour and stuff on the clock? Like, did somebody mess up in editing or I don't know.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. We do get some nice 3D CGI showing us the inside because, of course, they don't have the budget to really cut somebody open. But it's a clean way to show the audience what they're trying to do. We learn a lot about how the symbiont works, and there's filaments that go into the brain and everything. And then they are trying to cut at it, and the body starts shaking, so things get tense. But they do manage to pulls some pieces out, and in the end, they have this really gross skin sack that they take out of there and take away. And they think they did it. Kowalski comes to, he has a moment with Jack, and then Kennedy confronts Hammond, telling him he's going back, but he wants to take Teal'c with him, since, he's the only Goa'uld on Earth now. And Hammond is slipping in his protective role.
Mm-hmm. He's like, he's my alien, you can't have him. Get your own.
Then Carter comes to the sickbed and tells the others about Teal'c, so Daniel and Jack leave. Carter stays for a moment, and then Kowalski says he wants to talk to Teal'c before he goes, to thank him. They bring Teal'c in, they shake hands, and at that point, Kowalski sends the guards out, and his eyes glow.
Which is really stupid, because he was almost there. He had all of Kowalski's memories, obviously. All he had to do was wait until he went to a planet and just walked away.
I think...
So why... Like, there was a big difference between how smart he was playing it up until that point.
Well, he is a juvenile.
Well, yeah, but then how come he was... I don't know. I get they were going for the surprise factor, but I just felt like, well, you're stupid. You could have gotten away.
Well, they do have a hubris problem. Maybe he wanted revenge on Teal'c for the betraying, or maybe he wanted to take Teal'c as a prize.
Maybe.
I think you can explain it away, although the episode doesn't do it.
True.
He attacks Teal'c, tells him it was only a husk they took out, so apparently they don't need the snake body once they're completely inside.
There's still a tiny piece left that falls out at the end, though.
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a percentage thing, I don't know.
So it strangles Teal'c, and then he goes on a rampage. While Jack and Hammond are talking about Teal'c, Kowalski goes to the control room and starts dialing the gate. Poor Harriman gets his wrist broken. I think he gets smacked around. And then the doctor confronts Teal'c in the hallway. I don't really know why. Is it to tell the doctor he was wrong, but it's like a short beat that we don't really need. And then Kowalski sets the self-destruct and goes into the gate room. But he finds Teal'c waiting for him, standing in front of the open gate.
I wrote down Gandalf Teal'c.
Yeah, you cannot pass.
He was very dramatic about it.
They have a big struggle in front of the gate, and O'Neill and Hammond rush in to stop the self-destruct. And then O'Neill yells to Teal'c to hold Kowalski into the event horizon, and he shuts the gate off.
That could have cost him some fingers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some very precise
That
work
was a very
right there.
clean cut.
Yeah. That was...
I also wrote down that that's a bit of ruthlessness there, his friend. Because he also says, like, he's not my friend anymore, my friend died on the table.
Well,
but
he did. I mean...
Yeah, but still, it shows us that Jack does have a little bit of a ruthless side also, that when it gets to it, he will make those kind of decisions.
Yeah, a practical... I mean, I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, but he's right. He's well, at least a little bit, at least. But it surprised me a little bit because we do know the softer Jack, but
I think it also sets up like Jack makes a very clear decision here. Meanwhile, you have Daniel just prancing around the hallways at this point, so like saying like, my wife is still in there, my wife is still in there. Like you have this duality that's gonna come up later.
True.
So
yeah, because in the later scene, Carter and Jack are discussing the fact that the Goa'uld knew the self-destruct code, so they are theorizing that there's still something of the host in there, that something of Kowalski was still in there.
Which brings up a point, like I have ADHD. If a Goa'uld took me over, is he just gonna get infuriated with all the voices in there? Like at a certain point, is he just gonna be like, take me out of this
I
brain?
want to be alone.
What the? I know everything, but I know everything. Why? How do you live like this? Like, that just makes me wonder sometimes.
And then we end the episode by Hammond calling the president and handing the phone over to Kennedy. Teal'c reports to the gate room. He's in full gear. He even has his weapon back, and they are ready to go through the gate. And they line up in a nice little line. It's always a really cool shot when they do that, with the light of the gate reflecting on their faces. And it ends with them walking through.
I wrote down, the most unrealistic thing in this entire episode is that Teal'c's qualifications transferred. Because, like, just try and move to the United States and be like, I have degrees. They don't care. Or like, no,
But even here, I mean, there's people driving buses around because their degrees don't count here.
yeah. So I was like, oh, that's nice. Like,
But, yeah, I guess in the
okay.
military that doesn't count. I don't know.
You can't just transfer militaries either. That's not a thing.
I don't think so, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he's on the team. Don't get me wrong. But some of these things just make me laugh. Like,
So yeah, final thoughts on the episode.
I really liked it. I liked that they used, it was all contained in the base, but you do need a moment to get to know the base, to know that there's different kinds of
Yeah,
rooms.
it's a big
and,
set and they use it.
and you did need to get Teal'c out of that prison and into the team. So it accomplishes a lot as an episode.
Yeah, it does. It really focuses on Teal'c and Kowalski. It deepens what we know of the Goa'uld, so there's a lot of world building going on there. And as I said last episode, it's really cool that they take their time to integrate Teal'c. Or maybe you can say it's still only one episode, but we get a lot of work on Hammond too, because by the end of the episode you can really see that he's thawing, he's becoming more protective of the people, and he's going to be that for the rest of the series. Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, and Carter got to fight a little.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. Her and Daniel don't have a lot to do, but there's so much going on with Kowalski and Teal'c alone.
Yeah, but I
that-
don't really mind that. Like, in a series with a solid cast, it's totally okay to
Yeah.
be like, today, this person is just gonna wave
Yeah.
a laser pointer around for a bit, and that's fine.
That's why you
'Cause
have an ensemble cast.
sometimes you have these series nowadays, and they have 10 main casts, and they all have to be in the scene. And I'm like, just, why? We are not gonna forget these people exist if you just give them a moment to breathe for 2 scenes or something.
But you do have seasons with more than 20 episodes, so you can have episodes that focus on one character.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay, so the next one up is going to be a fun one, Emancipation. I'm looking forward to that one. So, tell us again, where can people find you on the internet?
I am Evie Belknap on TikTok. I am Evie Belknap on Blue Sky and on Instagram. And that's it.
Yes, and you can find me on YouTube and on Blue Sky as Iredonian, and under my full name on Instagram. We'll link them below. So, see you next week for episode 3.
Oh, we're doing this weekly? Okay.
Hope so. We'll see.